Yeah, welcome to my talk about the Angular CLI. First, a bit about me. That's me. This. Yeah, I was a bit younger when I took this photo. So. I'm David Müllerchen. I'm a trainer consulting for about a JavaScript developer for about more than 50 years, 16, 70 years about this. I've never done something else in development. I've learned a serious job before that, but then I decided to get a fancy guy, whatever. I have a blog, WebDevD. It's kind of active. What does it mean? It means that I write about 1 to 3 blogs per year. This is active, okay? There's some changes. I mostly blog in English because this is my, it feels more natural to blog in English, whatever, it feels more international. I'm from Hamburg, in Germany, yeah. I'm on GitHub, so maybe you will find, if I generate some useful stuff, you find it afterwards on Twitter. On GitHub, and I'm on Twitter, and this is also my my Instagram and my Twitch handle, webdave_de. Why is this important? On Twitter, my direct messages or private messages are open, so you can send me a message and ask me anything about technical stuff. Don't send me cat or some other pics. Thank you for this. And my Twitch channel is just for development purpose. So I do a monthly AMA session there. So you can tune in, and just ask me or send me beforehand some questions, and then we can just try to figure out how you can solve these problems. Okay. Sometimes, when it's very early, then I'm also Wolf. Short-terming. Long story short told is I was very, very early in the morning, about 9 o'clock. This is early, right? And I ordered the coffee, and she understood this is my name, which is a bit strange. Dave, Wolf, whatever. I'm active in the community, so I'm a very community-driven guy. Why? Because I'm an autodidact. So I've never visited a university or studied something. So everything I trained by myself, and I learned a lot in being active in forums and in communities. And this is the way I give back something. So this is the community in Germany, and angular.de. This is the, obviously, from Switzerland. This one is the community in Austria. And this is my community in Hamburg. And this, very important, is the logo of the first Angular conference taking place in Germany this year in August. So you are invited to come. It's a community non-profit conference, so you just pay a very small price to come. It's about, I guess, 400 euros. I don't know what it is in font, whatever, something like this. And yeah, this is a 2-day conference. It takes place on August 30th to 31st. Okay. Oh, and I rock also. This is just icebreaker. Does it work? Yeah, it does. Okay, let's start. Somewhere in the city, this is just storytelling, okay? This is Mary. She is the CEO of AwesomeSoft. And this is Peter, the HR manager of this company. And they are on their way to lunch, okay? And Peter just had an interview with a candidate called Paul. I try this every time when I do this talk. Peter, Paul, and Mary. Is this something? Okay. This guy is a very great developer because he can set up a project within seconds. Yeah? And Mary says, oh, that's fast. But what about the environment? Yeah, it's included. It's just 1 second. And she starts thinking about this. And okay, this is great. But did he follow the style guide? Style guide is important. Why is style guide important? Style guide is, if you follow style guide, this is the reason why you can jump into a project and get involved in the code very easily, because you know the structure, you know the naming, and you get what is about the code, what the code is about, okay? This is the style guide. Okay, sure, and he also writes tests. Do you write tests? Thank you. At least one. Oh, that sounds great. She's impressed, yeah? No, they are. These slides are not done by me alone. I had help from my kids. I have 3 of them, and so they helped me with this. And so, okay, but at the end of the day, only file size matter. Yeah, okay. You don't want to ship megabytes of data to the server, and the client have to download them and have to wait 18 seconds for the first mean review and so on. And no, he also know how to tree shake and AOT. Do you know tree shaking and AOT? Tree shaking means eliminate all the dead code, and AOT compile it beforehand and ship it pre-compiled. It's something which is provided by Angular. Okay, so he's starting to get very impressed. Yeah, we should hire him so he can teach this to us. Okay. She is very impressed by it. So again, these slides are done by my kids, okay? Not by me. She's very impressed. Bling. Okay. How can he manage all this? It's a valid question because it's very important. We want to be like this guy. He uses the epic tool called Angular CLI. And she's like, wow, what? What? Okay, it's very easy. Let's check it. It's just, everything starts with an npm install. We know this, yeah? We're in a web development world and we have to use npm. npm install globally angular/CLI. Done. This is a valid office. You see it because there's a coffee machine and the owl. I don't know why. Ask my kids. Then you scaffold a new project, set up with ng-new, and the name of the project. Then the CLI will come to you with some prompts, ask you, do you want to use the router? Yeah, for sure. And do you want to, which kind of CSS pre-processing do you want to use? Like CSS or SCSS or I guess stylus is at the moment still there, or endless. Okay, done. Then you hop into this folder, cd. Also done. And at every point you have to change your tracing because of this. I don't know why. And ngserve. ngserve just kicks off a web server, start to compile your code and ship it to the browser. And it set up a socket connection between your browser and and the dev server in the background. And every time when there is a file change, it's triggered a reload in the browser. So you don't have to hit F5 every time. So your keyboards should live way longer than now, because you don't have to hit all the time the F5. Okay, let's check the demo. I prepared something. So I want to scaffold it live, so I don't have prepared something or anything. These are some topics I have to cover, and I will don't like this. This is the code we will get scaffold at the first moment. Okay, just an ng-new I did here. We have some important folders. These are the E2E folder. There's other end-to-end testings going. Okay, you have to write your tests by your own because Angular CLI didn't know how your application is doing or how you have to test it. But it is really obviously. If you think about back in the time where you don't have a CLI tool and you want to set up an environment or a build chain or a CI or whatever kind of pipeline, how many hours do you spend to set up this stuff? For me, I can very remember times when I started and set up my first testing environment for a web. It was, I guess, a jQuery app or jQuery-based app in this time. When I set up the first testing environment, it took me, I guess, 4 days, 5 days to set it up. Okay, you agree? It's great. So I'm not the only guy who faced these issues. And if you start counting the hours and count how many dollars or money it is that you just here to set up just some development environment stuff, the CLI is just a very high money saver for this, yeah? Because you have just one hit, new, and everything is done. You don't have to think about, okay, how can I configure this or configure this? Have you ever maintained or configured a Webpack config file? If you are the only person on this project, this is very easy because you set it up for your machine and it works. But if you have another programmer on this project or a bunch of programmers on this project, you end up in a mess and you will spend months in this. I really mean months in these projects just to configure the environment and the pipeline. This is just set up by the CLI. Okay, back to this. Node modules, we know modules, this is where the internet is saved, okay? Then we have the source folder, this is our project. Yeah, if you have ever missed something in the internet, take a look at the node modules ordner, maybe you will find it there. Source is your project, this is the default project. And then we have some config files, like the editor config, the git ignore config, which are very, obviously you know, hopefully that you know what the git ignore config is, and the editor config is just settings for the editor to recognize, okay, how many spaces and how many alignments and all this stuff. And then there is a very important file, the angular.json. I try to make this bigger. So the angular.json is the config file for our workspace. Yeah? I don't talk about your Angular application, it's about this workspace. This folder we just created here, the folder is called here tech day. Yeah? Tech day. This is a workspace. So in this, we can have several applications or libraries. It's up to you. And you can configure this workspace with this angular.json. It means you can configure, okay, which is the default project, what should happen if I want to build it, how should I build, do we want to have some replacements during the builds, and also on. And if we want to generate some Angular stuff, how do we want to generate it? This means, for example, if you generate components, there is the possibility to generate components with an inline template or with an extra file. Yeah? Maybe you know this. And this is something you can configure in this angular.json. Where? Easy. I will show it. Okay, let's make this up. Okay, in this angular.json we have the node projects. And in this we have our projects. This is the default project. It's called like the workspace. Okay, tech day. And in there says, okay, there's some settings for this. Where's the root file and what kind of project is it? It's an application in my case. And the prefix. What is the prefix? If you don't know what a prefix is, come to me later and I will explain it. And here are the schematics. This is something new since Angular 6. Or the version of the Angular CLI, version 6, we don't have generators anymore. Generator just say, okay, go and generate this code. No, they replaced it with something like schematic. The outcome is the same, but the way to go there is another one. You don't say, okay, generate this stuff. You say, okay, go find a config file, which some commands, and a way how, and do it. It's just a recipe, how you generate stuff. And in there of this, you can set some default settings. For example, we could say we want to have inline template. Inline template. and to true. And now every component I would generate inside of this project will have an inline template. The same goes for inline styling, same goes for everything else we can configure for a component, like very important for performance reason, change detection. For if you have the library or want to scaffold or instantiate it by the factory, entry components. For library reason, export. If you want to have no folder structure, but a mess of files, then you can go for flat, and so on and so forth. So you can configure inside of this schematic node almost everything for your components. Okay, let's. Next one is that there is a very awesome feature in this that you can minimize your bundle size. And this comes out of the box with the CLI. This is we can see here something. This is the Angular CLI 7.x version. Yeah? And in the version 8x, there will be an improved version of this. You can say, okay, do I have to support ES6 or ES5 browsers like this Internet Explorer thingy stuff, whatever it is. It's no longer a browser, okay? This is something Microsoft said, okay? So if you say this set is to true, then you will it will generate on build will generate several files. One file with only for ES2015 browsers, and one file for ES5 browsers. So you can ship it depending on the feature set of your browser, and you minimize the bundle size, the initial load for your ES2015 browsers. Yeah, this makes it faster, and your user makes happy. Okay. In version 8, this will the feature gets a new name, and it will split everything in these two categories: ES5 and 2015 browsers, feature browsers. And the new name is differential loading. Okay, it says ES 2015 browsers only loads ES 2015 code, and it's also is generated as ES 2015, compiled to ES 2015, and all the other browsers or stuff like browsers, ES5 will load only the ES5 stuff. In my case, for my web type, webdev.de, this saves me 200 bytes just by switching one toggle. And this is great. Just text, okay? Okay, what else can we do with the CLI? Let me just go through the file structure. This is not that important, but I said with the version 6, there came this schematics thing to this. That means we now can add new stuff or teach the CLI new stuff. Yeah, we can extend the feature set of the CLI. For example, we can add stuff which someone invented to our CLI. For example, material stuff. Maybe you know Angular material. This is the component library of Angular. And we can, in our case, this is the key, we can add this schematic to our application. That means I will go here and just set it to foo, just to see that what happens when I add these schematics. ng add, this is the new command, and then the name of the schematic means add Angular. If you see some typos, this is on purpose, okay? Add Angular material, no typos, right? Don't look like. So this means now it makes, in the background, it makes an npm install, and then it finds, after an npm install, it finds a result which says, oh, we are schematics, and we have to do this and this and this step if you want to integrate Angular material into your application. I did this npm install beforehand because I don't want to waste time for this. So I just immediately jumped into this schematic. Now it asked me, hey, do you want, which kind of theming do you want? Material comes with 3 prepared or default themes, and one you can set up by your own. Yeah? And I go for, in this time, pink or deep purple. I don't know. Oh, let's go with pink. And next is, do we want to use Hammer.js for gisters, and you know Hammer.js? Oh yeah, let's go for this. And if you want to use the animations, yeah, you know, Angular Material uses the animation, and you have to use animations, the library, or you have to use the no animations library. So let's go with animations. Now it's updated the package JSON. It's just the version of the material, I guess, wherever it is. And it added some stuff to the Angular JSON. In fact, this means it's just the styles, the theme is there, okay? And it added some, it's too big now, the fonts to my index, and set up the Hammer.js globally, and uses the animation module in my application. So this is just one hit. I didn't do anything by my own. Okay. We restart the ng-serve because we changed the settings. Oh, it's already there. Wait. It was the cache. Right. Okay, no cache here. We are waiting for the cache for the browser. Okay, it's built. There it is. Per default, we use a serif, or the default on my machine is a serif font family. So, and this is now the typical Roboto font family from Google. Okay, so now we had added Angular material to this application without any work. But I said the schematics teach the CLI new stuff. So I now can use Angular material specific generators. Generates schematics. So I can use ng-generate and generate Angular material stuff. For example, I can do something like, I hope no typos now, ng-generate add Angular material and the schematic nav. And now he asked me for the name. I name it main nav, okay? And this is generated. So it added to my main module some stuff like the main nav component, layout, and toolbar stuff, material stuff, okay? Let me just save this and so. Let's go to this one. Where is it there? Oh yeah, I'm inline styling. Okay, that's maybe not the best way to do it. So we can find this one. It says, okay, content should go here. Okay. That means normally you would put in here your default router outlet for this. Okay? Then I have to go to this for the next stuff to okay, we can replace this main dash nav force just to override it, okay, to have a not the inline template or external extra file. Okay, there it is. I saved it. It's better to read, okay? Here is now, in this place, you have to, would expect to find the router outlet, so if you use it here, okay? But let's go and take a look at what we generated here. It's just a component, empty component with almost nothing, just a breakpoint observer. It's just for minimizing and extending the menu to burger menu and all this stuff, okay? And go to the app component and use it, not here. That's it. Just auto-generated by the CLI, by schematic. So, and inside of this is the viewport. This would be, or the view, the app, kind of the app shell, the view. This here would be the container, your router outlet, your component, whatever. Another very awesome schematic by the material is not here. Is you can generate a dashboard. And we name it dash. And this will generate a dashboard for me, just out of the box, which we can use in our template. Now, let's take a look at the dashboard. It looks like this. We have material cards with header and title and so on and so forth. And we have a component with some dynamic generated stuff. We have just an array to have a number of tiles, okay? And we can now use this dash component inside of our app, our nav component at this point here. Oh, come on. App dash. Okay. Ta-da! And I did nothing by my own. Okay, it is just pre-compiled or pre-prepared stuff you can use in your application. This is the stuff you would normally have if you want to build something like an admin dashboard like this. Yeah, you have tiles where you can have data in it with how many views, how many users, all this. You know this stuff, these dashboards. Or if you want to just have a dashboard with information for you or for your customers, for your clients. If you see this, maybe you will recognize some similarities with, oh, not this. There was a typo. The first one today. There is something which is similar, and my block is exactly the same. Yeah, just generated by this. So you can use this in production. Yeah. Okay. This is just one kind of schematic you can use. There is another very, very useful schematic you can use, and you can use a schematic to make your application out of the box offline compatible. Yeah, this will run offline without any connection. How does it work? You know something like progressive web apps, PWA. Maybe you heard about this. There is a schematic for this. It means there is an ng add Angular PWA, and this will. Oh, quick. Oh, already exist? Yeah. okay, because I compiled it beforehand. Assets, delete, and again. So, luckily, the feedback messages are that clear that even I can understand it, what it means, and no Java wallpaper which says stack, 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 null pointer for this. Okay, what does this schematic does? It just generates some icons. You know these icons you have to use for your progressive web, or if you want to use a custom icon for your shortcuts on your desktop. And then he updated some files. Let's have a look on this. It just updated the Angular JSON, obviously, because we had some, let's save it. It's added the manifest JSON, which is the config file for your progressive web app, which says, okay, if you start it, then it will behave like this, optically, visible, okay? It looks like the nav bar will be colored in this color, and there will be a splash screen with this icon and this text and so on. And we will have the same for testing also here, and some flag. Yeah, just a kill switch, service worker, true, false. Yeah, we want to have a service worker, and we want to find it in the config for this here. Okay. And in our app module, it says, hey, we want to register the ng service worker JS, ng sw dash and so forth. And if we check it, it's not there, because this is something which is generated on build time. Okay, because this says which files should be cached. And if you build it, the files get a hash, and it says in this case, okay, you have to cache these files with this hash named. Okay. Okay. How does this look like if we build it? Now we have to build it, but the build is very quick. Done. This one. A build is done by ng build and in production mode, okay? Now it will tree shake and AOT and split if we want to, and separate it and combine everything together and make it as small as possible in the moment. And it will also generate the service worker for us. So I will just commit this, PWA. Close everything, and we will find a dist folder in the top after it's done. It's just compiling, reading the references, and shipping everything together and build some one bundle. Hopefully without any errors. This would be very strange. What can we do with the service worker? We can increase the experience, user experience, with a no-brainer. Yeah? I didn't do anything, yeah? But there's now a service worker, and my application has an offline compatible app shell. Yeah? App shell means the HTML, CSS, JavaScript stuff is cached after the first visit. Yeah? Okay, let's have a look at this stuff. We now have we have an assets folder with all the icons. Boring. We have some license, and we have here the ES5 polyfills. This is the file which get downloaded by the ES5 folders, browsers, yeah, because they don't know how to handle ES 2015 stuff. This is not downloaded by the new up-to-date browsers. So this is something we I guess this is 56K here, we spare we save in our up-to-date browsers. And here's our service worker, which is on request, on response, header, star, blah, boring, fall asleep and wake up and so on. Not interesting, but this JSON is very interesting. It says, okay, we have an asset group. Asset group means this is the static content of our web page, okay, which we mostly group together as the app shell. So it means HTML, JavaScript, CSS. And it says, okay, we want to cache this stuff for offline purpose. Okay, so it says CSS and so on with the hashed names, yeah, which is the biggest pitfall if you want to write it by hand. Yeah, you don't have to be an expert in typos like me. This is hard to do, and so this is just out of the box. It says, okay, there's an install mode. Says prefetch. This means we cache it before we use it. Okay. There's also another install mode which means lazy. So we cache it after we used it. But app shell is important. We use it. So download it and cache it. Okay. Let's check this site. I have this small browser. It's just a small web server for Chrome. It's a plugin, if you're interested. And take another for security and make this. So this is my web page. Yeah, I can just let's take a look at the network. It says, I did a reload, and it's already cached. It already says, it's cached, so we loaded it. Oh, it's great to see. Can I switch the settings? Where can I switch to the black theme? Oh, here. Dark. Network. Reload. Is it better to see? I try to, wrong window. It doesn't work. Okay. I have to just handle with all this stuff. Okay, you can see this that all the stuff we loaded now already loaded from the service worker. We can now switch the network offline, and make a reload, and it works without any single line of code written by me, just by the schematic stuff, just generated. This is awesome. If you want to cache also the dynamic data, then you have to start implementing something by your own. Okay? Or you have to set the configuration for this. Then it's not the asset group, it's the data group. But if you want to learn something about this, there will be a great talk about progressive web apps by Christian Liebe in one of these today, I guess. Okay. Can I feedback for the time? Test 10 minutes late, okay? As I'm right? So, any questions?
You're running it on the different port because earlier it was on 4200 earlier.
Excuse me,
Sorry, the port which is showing it is like 4 times 3.
Yeah.
But earlier the port was 4200, I believe. The port 127.00.1.
Yeah.
4 times 3. So how we configure the port there?
This is just something I set up in my web server for Chrome. This is not set up by CLI. This is just my web server, and I can set it here up. Okay, it's just this is one of the easiest way to set up a web server. But this works with all the web servers you have. If you want, you can also install something like a Tomcat, concat. What? I'm lost in translation. Sorry. Or you can use the PHP server or just a Node server, whatever. And this is just a plugin for Chrome, and you can configure it very easy. Sometimes I'm a visual guy. I need this. Yeah, at ngserve. But the service worker doesn't work well with ngserve -- prod. Because if you do, I can show this, you can serve it. Let's do this and go to this. You can do ngserve. Oh, not here. Let's do it here. ngserve and port and say 6767. And -O for open. Then you can configure the port on the fly. That's right. But if you try to do this with a service worker, you have to build it or serve it by prod. It doesn't work because the service worker needs the file physically on the disk, on your machine. And ngserve just makes an in-memory stuff, and it doesn't work. It can work. But it doesn't work very great, okay? And then it says 6767, the port, just on the fly. So this is a very you often use case if you have several stuff set up like an API with a specific port, or you need several apps set up for the same time, then you have to set it up. Other questions? Yeah?
Is it supported there as well?
By the service worker or by the CLI? The service worker. I guess there is a polyfill for service worker for IE 11, but I'm not sure if it works properly. I wouldn't go for this. I know we all have to handle with customers which doing very awesome, agile, new stuff, and then internally they have Internet Explorer 8, which is sad, but it's true. And or Safari, yeah, it's the same. And then you have to. In Germany, we say you have to die one kind of death. Stick with your versions, with the legacy browsers, or and then you can't use the bleeding edge stuff, or update your system. Have fun with your customer, but use the bleeding edge stuff. But Microsoft's the support for Internet Explorer ended 2 years ago, I guess. Was it like this? To me? Yeah, and Edge is supported, is maintained for, I guess, 2 years now, from now, and then they will switch over up then to the new core, the V8 core. So, is this a great situation that everyone is switching to one core? I'm not sure, because diversity matters everywhere, even in technology. But for us as a developer, this is very easy, because we don't have to handle all these Internet Explorer bad words, stuff. Or this, yeah. Okay, I'm around for another, I guess, 2 hours here, and then I have to go for sightseeing and flight. So if you have any questions, come to me or reach out to me at my Twitter account. I'll go back, the story, this one. You will find me, as I mentioned, on Twitter, Instagram, or Twitch. I'm also on YouTube, but does this matter? Oh, no. So, thank you for coming.